Yes. Can you pop round? I can't find the volume. How do I switch that volume there?
So can I please
Sorry.
have someone to move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board A, removes item 6 from the agenda, and B, accepts a report from Andrew Don, Reserve Revocation, Goodfellow Street as a as a late item for the agenda as the consultation period closes before the next board's meeting. Jill, someone second that? Kane, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Right, so we can now move on to the public forum, and I would like to welcome Shane Walsh from the Te Awamutu Business Chamber. Welcome, Shane. Great to have you here. Look forward to hear what you've got to tell us tonight. Thank you.
Right, so as Ange mentioned, I'm here in my capacity as the CEO of the Te Awamutu Business Chamber, and I'm here on behalf of our retailers. And so this is a proposal from our retailers, something they've been working on for a while, but now we have a document that we can show you. So this is the retailers believe it is time to revitalise and modernise the appearance of the main street. In fact, someone said it's time that we pulled Nana's garden out. So currently, the existing rails, seating, the streetlight poles and the rubbish bag holders are in dire need of maintenance. The colour is old-fashioned and drab. It's a reddish colour. So the suggestion is to utilise the grey that's in line with the colouring around the library and the pools. So if you look at Te Awamutu, there's like two landscapes. There's the ones that are around the library and the pools, and there's the one that's in town. So we believe that the look and feel needs to be consistent throughout the town. So here is some examples. So the issue here is the colour and the condition of those rubbish bins. It's just very, very bad impression. The seats, again, the colour and the condition. The rails, the colour and the condition. So this is around near the library, and you can see the different colour. And that's the colour that we think should be throughout the town. And the bench seats, so we're not suggesting that we change the seats. We're just suggesting that the colour needs to be consistent throughout the town, and that grey is the preferred colour. And you can see also the rails are grey compared to that reddy colour that we've got in town, that very drab colour. Now, in terms of the planting, we believe that the planting as it is now is too formal, outdated hedging and pots. And we're suggesting native planting and some roses to highlight our Rose Town credentials, but again, to be more in line with the landscaping around the library and the pools, which is completely different. We believe the look and feel needs to be consistent. Now, I think many people have been in this room and have complained about these bloody pots, and they're still there, and they're all on a lean. And if the town was to become famous for the leaning pots of Te Awamutu, then that would be something at least. But I have not met anyone who likes them. Yeah, no, Bill will have them. He's already mentioned that he would take them for nothing. So, and there's another one. So beautiful, right? And then if we look at the planting, these sort of hedges, very drab. Again, not good. Not good. Very colonial looking. Here's some examples of the planter boxes around the library, which we think looks okay, and some examples of the planting around the library. So look, we are very aware of the need to minimise cost, and there's no money. So the expectation is that this shouldn't be something that we need to accomplish immediately, but the vision should be worked towards over time using existing maintenance budgets. The expectation is that if it's done right, the cost to maintain over time would be less. Hedges would not require cutting, the pots wouldn't require constant cleaning, and the natives would be hardier and less maintenance on them. And it also fits into Who Are We Te Awamutu survey. It's a bit, Te Awamutu, native planting with some roses more reflect the brand of Te Awamutu than the look and feel that's out there at the moment. So that is what the retailers are saying. We agree, and we imagine utopian situation where Waipa District Council staff are working together with a small group of retailers and agreeing on what the look and feel should do and should be over time, and then slowly but surely work towards it. So that's not something that we can afford. So that is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. That was really good, and I, for one, certainly like the feel and the idea of where you're heading with this, because certainly totally agree. Hedges and things are a lot of work. There's not a lot of room, so a lot of native things don't have to be trimmed as much. So then you are reducing the health and safety for staff in those spaces as well, which I know people are quite keen on. But more importantly, has anyone got some questions or comments that they would like to make to Shane? Jill, we'll start with you.
Totally agree with most of that, Shane. And yes, we've got the hedges up the main street, but the Nandina, I've been here 19 years, was that big 19 years ago, and it's still that big. So obviously the soil's not that great. Yes, the pots have been a problem for quite some time. I think they just store rubbish and that's about it. But I would be interested to know, with the seats and the railings in town, which are all the paint's coming off, surely that's already on the maintenance budget.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I hope so.
But we're saying, hey, one, we hope so, and two, let's do it with grey paint instead of that horrible red paint. And let's be consistent with our look and feel throughout the whole town, not just one area looking cool and the other one not looking so great.
No, I totally agree, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. Yeah.
Thank you.
Shane, would I be right in assuming that the centre of town's been left behind for the newer part, the library and the pool? The whole lot? Generally? Yeah. It's like two different sectors, really.
Yeah, that's right. So I think it's time to catch up.
Gosh, and then we could, if we've got two different sectors, we could link up with the Homes Garage, being an outdoor facility. Anyway, I didn't say that, did I? I think the retailers really need looking after, and I think it is long overdue. I was just thinking that maroon seating, I would imagine it was done with regards to school uniforms or whatever, however it all works. So possibly that's the maroon. But when was that put in? Because it doesn't feel like it's that long ago, but time flies. Right, okay. Yeah.
I want to say at least probably 12.
I'm just saying
years.
insurance claim, sure,
Yeah, and it may have even been longer ago than that. Kane?
Thanks for coming in, Shane. See a couple of things. You have really good points. Also on that list additionally, which we've talked about, is the signage around town. It needs a really good clean. So I've mentioned it a few times now. So we have to work on how we actually get that done and achieved, but also the roundabouts in town. I don't know, we may want to add that on. That's a real bugbear of mine. Every time I come through, I sort of think that broken curb. I spoke to Brian the other day about it. Actually, as he was walking past, I just caught him. That whole look and feel of the town as you come in is just atrocious in my view. And this is, I think what we really need is what you've done is brilliant, but I think sweeping across the entire town and looking at everything in the whole and going, how can we really improve this? So having worked in tourism, that whole front shop of how it all looks is just crucial, eh? So totally support what you're trying to do. Really glad that you've got a slightly long expectation on getting this achieved. But yeah, I think we need to somehow work with Brad and the team on how we build this into the budget and actually make some of these changes, because we want to see some change, you know. So I totally endorse that.
Yeah, I mean, the retailers are feeling unloved out there, and if we could just do something for them and something that's not going to cost the earth, then why wouldn't we? But, you know, if we could do it together with the staff and the retailers talking to each other, a little group, and agreeing on what we should be doing, that would be another great thing to get that reconnection between the council and the community.
Yeah, the board's been trying to do that for, that's definitely what we've been trying to aim for.
Just one question for me, Shane. So we talked about this in my last term, so Paula came along. So roughly how long have you been back in Te Awamutu?
Nearly 4 years.
4 years. So we've been trying to get that main street a bit of love so far for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was something that definitely came up in our Who Are We Te Awamutu, didn't it? So it's not just us asking for this. It was clearly supported in that document when we did our questionnaire.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's definitely something that Te Awamutu community are behind as well. So we might not be able to do it, but let's get it started. And then hopefully there will be some of us around again next time to hopefully see it through in the next term. But thank you very, very much. We're definitely, from everybody's comments, you know, keen to support this and help wherever we can to get something happening. And as you say, utilising those existing budgets, because usually there are cleaning budgets, etc. there. So let's hope that there's a little bit enough in there for us to be able to at least make a start.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Would be interested in what the process is now from here. Like, so is there someone in the gardening team who looks after that area and making the decisions about the plants, etc.? Would it be that you would then sit down with that person and ask for maybe a retailer to be, some of the retailers or myself to be there with that person to try to get a shared vision of what this thing looks like?
Yeah.
Is that the first step? I don't know.
I'm thinking we could do it one of two ways. We'll have a discussion later. We can't make any sort of decision that goes into our minutes tonight because that's not the process we're able to take. But we will have a brief discussion after the meeting, and there's a couple of ways we can do it, that we move a resolution to request that is considered, and it would go through to council as a request that's considered, but we also can start making some inquiries around creating a little team, and hopefully it could work that way, like what we did with Brian helping us with changing the parking. So there's a couple of options there. So we'll discuss later what we think might be our most successful angle. Brian's certainly very approachable, so we can definitely make that part of it and get that little group help you get it started.
I asked the question because you rightly pointed out that 4 years ago the same sort of submission was done and zero has happened.
I did get some cleaning done of the footpaths.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Action's required.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks, Shane.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Bye.
Okay, so next up, we've got Anne-Marie and Charlie and Liz Stolwick. Is Liz still floating around or did she have to shoot off? Oh, she did. Okay. Anne-Marie and Charlie, welcome. If you guys would like to take a seat. So Anne-Marie and Charlie are with us tonight. Oh, here she is. She's popped back again. Okay. So we're very lucky that tonight we're being given a little bit of a sneak preview of a part of Kenya, and they're quite keen for us to possibly become a city sister, wrong way round. So I won't say any more. I'll let you guys do the talking, but welcome. Thank you so much for giving up your time to come and see us tonight. All you need to do is push the wee button in front of you and speak into the microphone. So thank you.
Thank you, Ange. Kia ora koutou, habari zenu. So I'm Anne-Marie and this is Charlie. And we've been in Waipa for 16 years. And a little bit more about ourselves. We're dairy farmers here. And Charlie's been an Ohopo and a Hanapuri lion for the last 10 years. And we brought our family up here. So that's us. And Charlie is Kenyan, and he's also the president of the Kenyan community in New Zealand currently. And recently we hosted the High Commissioner from Canberra for Kenya. And during that trip, we did a few farm tours around Waipa. And part of that was going to see Liz and Andrew. And from there, we brought them to the diplomatic party to Te Awamutu, checked out the memorial gardens, and within all that process, the sister city idea was born. So we've talked about that, and really I think the presentation will show you what similarities and benefits we think could come from it. So I think we could just go through that. Oh, the slides didn't come through the picture. Okay. No, that's all right. There were some more. So facts. So we've come from Kenya, from Africa to Kenya. From Kenya, we've come to a small, they call it a county, which is the same as a district for us. And the small county is called Alagaeu Marakwet. And then from there, we've come to a small town called Iten. So Iten is the town that we're talking about. And it doesn't work, does it? You can usually play it. That's okay. So, so the population of Iten is 42,000, and it's the first town in the district to recently become a chapter of the International Lions, which is a good connection for us as well. And Iten is a World Athletics Heritage Landmark for the reason that it's where all of the world champion marathon runners live and train. Yeah. So what happens next on there? It didn't quite play how I thought it would. So it's good for altitude. That's why they train there, because it's so high. It's at running along the top of the Rift Valley in Kenya. That's what's special about it there. And obviously not just Kenyans, but all sorts of athletes train there. I need a clicker. So why? These are the things we thought would be useful and beneficial to both of us. So farming, financial knowledge sharing, diverse heritage. So both rich cultural tapestries with our Māori heritage, and Iten is part of a Kalenjin tribe. So Kenya has a lot of tribes, and this one is Kalenjin. So we thought that going forward, the things that look interesting and useful in sister cities are educational partnerships, so school exchanges, pen pals, lots of, I guess in this wonderful day, we could have lots of joint online learning activities, which would be pretty amazing. and art and craft exhibitions, community events. So we would love to see that there was lots of celebrating of both cultures on both sides of the world, virtually or reciprocally. Youth engagement programs focused on empowering youth and cultural understanding, which can never go very far. So ironically, much like Waipa, E10 is also the home of champions. So we think that that's a really nice link to where we would sit to begin with. And then, as you can see, it's got a very strong pastoral agricultural background, which also relates very well to us here in Te Awamutu. Is there any more? No, that's it.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. That's awesome. So have we got any questions? I was really lucky that I got to meet with Anne-Marie and Charlie and Bruce and Lou and Liz. And so we had a really good chat, didn't we? And they shared lots of lovely, awesome things about Etienne. So it's your guys' opportunity to ask away and you know, if you want to explore some of the ideas there that Anne-Marie put forward to ask some questions. Bruce, have you want to get started?
Could you elaborate on the Kenyan ambassador and his ideas for all of this, please?
So the Kenyan ambassador that has just taken the post halfway through last year is incredibly vibrant. He has been around the Pacific, Australia and New Zealand, which are his posts, more than twice or three times already. And he's really vibrant about connecting Kenya with our part of the world. So particularly their focuses are around agriculture, education, and what's the other big thing?
And exchange of students.
Yeah, and students learning. So all of those things relate to us, particularly I think the farming and perhaps even the students coming through Waikato as they do. So I guess what we really see and think is that Kenya could be a culture that comes into New Zealand kind of in a way that the Philippines have come into New Zealand, and that would be something that would work really well in our community here as well.
We got any other questions at the moment? Anne-Marie, correct me if I'm wrong, but when the ambassador was here, when he drove through Te Awamutu, he was the one that identified us as the place that he thought was somewhere he liked to.
Yes, exactly. And not only that, he also married Te Awamutu with Etienne in terms of the feel and the vibrancy of it and what they were like. So that's how Etienne came around as the suggestion. It's not Charlie's tribe or culture, or it's somewhere else. Not his town. It's a town that we identified as being like Te Awamutu and like this area. So that was why it came up. Yeah, and we have had a Zoom with the governor, who is like the mayor of Alagao Marakwet, who rules that area, and he's really vibrant as well. He's the one who's just instilled the Lions chapter and was really keen to go further as well.
So when we talked about it, we kind of asked, we thought that there were, we could see the links, especially around the agricultural side of it. We also talked about some of the sporting links and tapping into to the various sports opportunities and those education ones. I see, Anne-Marie, you've thought of a whole lot more since we spoke the other day. So there's lots and lots of possibilities, but probably one of the most important things for us, and we touched on it when we met, was that for this to work, we probably need it to be bigger than the community board. So it's possibly, getting some people from a farming background involved, that it would create like a if it was to go ahead, a subcommittee that were specifically about the sister city. So those were just some of the things we talked about, but Kane, did you want to?
So we previously had a relationship with Moree, which I'm not sure whether it still continues or not. But yeah, we had exchanges. I remember when I was a kid, we had an exchange. They all came over. Can't remember how many. I was a bit young, I think. But I guess my question is around. Obviously, Cambridge has been quite successful with their sister cities, and I probably need to do a bit more digging into understanding around what's involved in the cost. But I think what Angie's saying is around we really need that community buy-in to make sure it's successful. So I don't think we want to go into something sort of with not enough support. So I think getting that widespread awareness and push behind it is really what we're probably keen to see. So I'm absolutely keen to learn more though about it. I think it's very interesting.
One of the ideas that we had as a next step, if people are keen, was that we would organise some sort of a barbecue get together with the Kenyans that are in this community, probably a lot wider, would stretch and bring some of them from Hamilton. But in actual fact, there's a lot of Kenyans working in Te Awamutu. And by doing exactly what you said, inviting as many people who we thought might be interested to get on board and just seeing how that went, doing it like a cultural food exchange and just, yeah.
Okay, so has anyone else got any questions at all or comments? Okay, thank you so much to you both. We feel really privileged that you guys have come to us and consider Te Awamutu worthy to be a sister city. Our process now is that we've actually allowed some time at the conclusion of our meeting to have a little bit of a discussion, and then we need to find out some more about the process behind it. I did do a little bit of asking, and so we need to get permission from council, and so there's some of those background processes, but leave it with us for a little bit, and we'll just need to keep our fingers crossed, so we'll see how we go. But thank you so much, and really honoured to have you both here tonight, and thank you so much for putting together the presentation.
No problem. Thank you for having us, and we just think it's a neat idea.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, no, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, good night. Thanks, Liz. Mr. Harris, were you wanting to jump in on the public forum and say a few words at all? Because of course you can't speak to it in the meeting. I need you to make your comments prior, please. So Bill is coming to talk to us in regard to, I'll just tell you which item number. Where are we? In regard to item 7, the return of unclaimed funds, which was in our agenda on pages 71 and 72, but Bill just has a couple of comments he would like to make in regard to that. So thanks, Bill, and welcome. It's lovely to have you here with us tonight.
Kia ora koutou. Just acknowledge our global Indigenous brother Charlie there. He's already left. Kia ora, Charlie. And it was good to be here for that component of it. So that's really neat. Continue to recognise the really hard work that the Te Awamutu-Kihikihi board does on behalf of your constituents. So start with an acknowledgement to each and every one of you, and then also to the staff that work pretty hard. And Shane, it was good to be here for yours and to hear that as well. And having sat through 3 days of hearings and deliberations, I feel for those things. I've become aware of the communications that have been put out in public about the Rangiowhia Trust, and I wanted to come here and correct some of that information that was being shared publicly. We've got as Māori, we've got a contestable situation coming up in terms of the Māori ward, and I felt that there was a need to correct some of the information in there because it may be could possibly be taken and used by other people in the future. I noted in the communications that there was talk about the trust and not having had any responses from the trust for a long period of time. So the first thing I wanted to advise the community board was that this was a trust that Jenny Charman set up, Ngāti Apakura Whaia, who has subsequently passed. So any discussion about the trust from our perspective is hurtful to her family. And, you know, that needs to be considered when statements are being written. So Jenny was quite sick for parts of the period in which we're talking about. But what and I've subsequently been to this board on behalf of Ngāti Apakura, which was Jenny's tribe, to update you on what was happening with the Waharoa. So where it says that there's been no information received in terms of that funding and the Waharoa that was to go up at Ngāroto, I challenged that and believe that I have been asked and spoken on at least one, maybe two occasions to the community board about what was happening there. In fact, what happens is that the funds for the Rangiawhia Trust, I'm just conscious of the fact that we're in public, was subsequently transferred when Ngāti Apakura set up its legal entity, the Ngāti Apakura Runanga Trust. And so the Rangiawhia Trust was in my most recent email communications to Ange as the chair of the community board. I signalled to her that it was superseded by the Ngāti Apakura Runanga Trust. Now, I didn't know some of the stuff that Joe's put in there might well, you know, not fit with the way that things might generally be done. And I can understand that. But all I can say is that the any funds that the Rangiawhia Trust had at that point in time came across to Ngāti Apakura Runanga Trust, and as the chair at that time of the Ngāti Apakura Runanga Trust, I gave two reports to the community board about you know, how we were hoping to expend that funding. And I can say that the Runanga actually commissioned as I reported to you, an outline of what could happen in terms of the Runanga, in terms of the Waharoa. The problem is that the funding for that in today's age is a lot different to what the funding was that had been allocated to it. And especially when you're utilising master carvers for the work that you're looking to have done. So I've signalled in my email to Ange that you know, Ngāti Apakura will do its work as it does its work, and as grateful as we are for the funding that was allocated, you know, you can utilise the funds that you've allocated to that project for other projects if you so wish. I think that was all. Is that all I wanted to indicate? Yeah, that we have had communications, I think, is the key thing. That trust no longer exists, and I have communicated that. And so, any, I was concerned about the face loss for Jenny Charman, who led the Rangiawhia Trust and did a wonderful job. And I think that part of the work that they did was actually to establish that po that's up at Rangiawhia. So, you know, it wasn't, you know, they did complete some significant work that now still exists inside our area. So, yeah. And I'll offer my apologies to her whānau for any lack of communication from our perspective to the community board.
Kia ora, Bill, and thank you for that clarification. That's really helpful leading into our discussion that we'll have shortly. But aroha mai on behalf of the community board for any ill will that was taken out. There certainly was no intent at all to make anyone look bad or to, you know, be reflected in that way. So please know from us There was never any intent at all in the way that it was worded. But as I say, aroha mai. So thank you. I have got your email and you've covered some of what I was going to say, so I won't need to repeat myself. But yeah, so thank you for coming along, Pomarie, and we will catch up with you again very soon.
With your indulgence, give you a couple of minutes on the alpha if you wanted it.
Oh, we haven't got a big meeting, so yes, please, that would be good, just to have a quick update. Thank you.
Okay. So just a few things. One is that there was 27 odd submissions to the long-term plan about the alpha. And I believe that's about 1/3 of all the submissions that were received from the long-term plan. And that submission was, yes, it was a set one, and people signed to say that they supported the council's purchase of the Alpha Hotel. Obviously, there's no funds, but should funds arrive, then maybe it could become part of the consideration amongst other things like shifting the pots. So just a bit of a push there. The other thing is that we have cleaned up one part of the outside wall. We've been concentrating with our RSA group, and Mr. Wood's been a great help to us as well. We've started to clean up the rotten boards on the outside of the building, in the hope that we can at least begin to process the painting of the downstairs and beginning to make it look a bit better from the outside. I think that if you get a chance, people that have been inside, can see the improvements that have been made inside the place, to the point that we've received some funding from Culture and Heritage, which we're seeking to spend at the moment. We were one of the successful groups in that funding round, on the fires, getting the fire alarms and fire service back on, because if we want to open up to the public, then we need to be fire worthy, and some lighting in terms of the old public bar for those that have been into the place on numerous occasions, and trying to get the carpet squares that we were given down on the floors. I just need to report, Ange, that we've had a lot of groups showing interest in utilising it. We're about to go back to the Māori Women's Welfare League that are looking to utilise it for rārunga, doing weaving on Saturdays. We've had an interest from a woman that's wishing to run art classes for after school care for children, and we've had two sessions for after school care facility, as an after school care facility. There's been some interest in the kitchen area space cafe scenario, and without your sign off on fire service and that sort of thing, it's hard to get the the approvals through on the food side of it, the food safety side of it. So yeah, but still good interest, and so that's on that. Just one other, and I thought about it when I was sitting over there, Ange, but I didn't get it to this point. We also, as a Kiki ratepayers, farewell Peter Fraser the other day as the chairperson. So just a big ups and thank you to Peter Fraser for all the work that he's done for the Kiki Ratepayers Association. So I just thought it might be useful for you to know that also. Thank you. Thanks for the extra time.
Yeah, no, thank you, Bill. And I was meant to get along to that other Saturday, and old Doris here forgot all about it. So yeah, I'll try and get hold of Peter and send him a best wishes from us, because he's moved over to Papamoa now, or Tauranga. Oh, is that where he ended up? No, look, thank you. Appreciate that. Oops, I need my button back on. Righto. So that concludes the public forum. We will move on to item 4, the confirmation of previous minutes at pages 8 to 12. So if I can have someone move that the Te Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board confirms open minutes of the meeting held 28 May as circulated with the agenda as a true and correct record of proceedings. John, someone to second that? Kane, all in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, we will move on to item 5, the draft 2025-34 long-term plan update report. I believe Melissa's probably sitting by. Oh, and we've got Kirsty too. Welcome, ladies. Lovely to have you here. We will take your report as read. Can we please have someone, we'll receive it and then we'll get on to questions and any comments that you guys have. So can I have someone to move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board receives the report of Melissa Russo, Manager Strategy, titled Draft 2025-34 Long-Term Plan Update? Bruce, Sally, second. All in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, all yours, ladies.
Thank you. Thanks for having us again. Just want to check that you can hear me all right.
Perfect.
Perfect. Cool. So yes, as sort of set out in the report, we've now concluded the consultation process on the long-term plan. So submissions were open between the 9th of May and the 9th of June. And then we obviously had the hearing and deliberations process last week. And it was great to have you there and representing the community board. Some of the things that we noticed coming through the submissions were, I guess, concerns around rates and the increases in the affordability, the prudence of council spending, the impacts of growth. We received quite a bit of feedback around growth and how it's funded. There were also comments regarding audit's opinion on the consultation document. So that's kind of just some key themes that we noticed coming through all of the feedback. We, as a project team, we're now working to develop up some responses back to submitters, and as a key stakeholder, the community board will receive a tailored response, hopefully in coming weeks. So you can expect to see that come through you, and otherwise happy to take questions.
Okay, thank you. Have we got any questions or comments, or Sally?
I was just curious, how do these numbers of submitters reflect and compare to previous long-term plans out of interest?
Like me to respond to that, Melissa? Yeah, thank you, Sally. So the numbers are lower than they were for the 21-31 long-term plan, but if we cast our minds back to that process, we received a high number of submissions. They were, I guess, templated submissions relating to the Te Awamutu War Memorial Park. So that I think, represented a large number of submissions that we received back in 2021. I think it's fair to say that, we were comfortable with the level of engagement. In addition to the written submissions received, we also attended a number of community events and held webinars and received feedback through those engagement opportunities also, and that was captured within the deliberations report itself.
Thanks, Kirsty.
Anyone else got any questions or comments? Kane?
Yep. So in terms of adjustments from the LTP hearings, we're waiting to incorporate those. Is that correct? Just to understand the process. So I'm just reading E, considers and determines all verbal and written submissions. Is that right?
So we had the deliberations process on Thursday. So they're actually two separate meetings. So that part of it has been, I guess the submissions have been considered and decisions made. The team are now working to incorporate any changes as a result of the feedback received into the final document, and we're looking to adopt that in coming weeks.
Okay, so just from my understanding, so that 15.5, is that the final percentage, or is there going to be an additional changes as a result of E?
No, it'll remain at 15.5.
Okay.
Through the chair, just to add to that, my understanding is that there has been a media release issued today, which provides and just an overview, high-level overview of some of the changes that have been made in terms of the or key decisions in respect of the submissions. So, and I'm sure, Ange, that the community board are actually provided with that media release. If not, we can send that through.
So can I just?
I can speak to it if you'd like me to, Kane, just at a high level.
So yeah, just before you do that, so under F, so if we go ahead and agree this, we're agreeing that it goes to final audit, right? Is that what we're agreeing to?
No, you're not. That's what the council's already decided. So the points that you're referencing, the recommendations, are the recommendations that were presented to council for deliberations on Thursday of last week. So council has made decisions in accordance with those recommendations, and there were some amendments to those.
Sure. So we've received the report and that's it, correct?
Yes, and you had the opportunity to make a submission, which you did. So yeah, this report now that's presented to you tonight is just an update report on the process.
No, understand that. Cool. So we haven't reduced the rates at all, right?
No, the rate for year one has been retained at 15.5%. The recommendation in the deliberations report provided for an increase in year two, and we had feedback from elected members that they wished the rates to be retained at the levels that were consulted on through the consultation process. So, yeah. So, yeah.
Kirsty, just wanting to check, it was a press release sent out by Victoria Gray, if I got the right one, and council in unenviable position as it looks to adopt long-term plan.
Yes,
did the rest of you get that? You should have. Yep. Cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I just have one very little tiny grammatical thing. So in regard in your report, there was a comment, oops, hang on, I'm on the wrong bit. I don't want that. I want my diligent. Hold on, just bear with me. One moment. Oh God, so I'll put it out altogether. So it said here that there were some submissions made in relation to the draft remission and postponement of rates. And it quotes where I had asked clarify on why a ratepayer needs to have owned the property for at least 5 years to qualify for the remission, is what it says here. However, that wasn't what I said. I just said I wondered why a ratepayer needed to have owned the property for at least 5 years to qualify. My statement had said so I wrote the draft remission and postponement of rates and water charges policy. Why do you have to own it? I'm just correcting that. I didn't actually specify it was in relation to a remission, because I went back and checked. So the comment saying it applies only to the postponement of rates, not remissions, is irrelevant. I wanted to know why you have to own the property 5 years. So it's not a big deal. It's just, it wasn't what I said that has been put in this report. And if you go back to my submission and have a look, you'll see that I didn't actually say anything about remission. It was just about the whole policy.
So through the chair, thank you for that feedback, Ange, and note that the report was presented to council last week. So Joe, I guess from a procedural perspective, is it possible that this could be minuted, Ange's clarification could be minuted in these minutes for tonight's meeting? Or can we just turn our minds to how we might capture that procedurally, please?
We can certainly note it in tonight's meeting that was raised as one of the discussion points of the board.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Kirsty. I mean, it's not a real biggie. It was just a thing. I mean, I didn't say that. And when I checked, I went, oh, I didn't for a change. But would you guys be able to just find out for me what the thinking was? I know when we spoke about it at the hearing, someone thought it may be a higher up central government legislative requirement. So I'm not sure if anyone is able to clarify why it is a 5-year wait.
May have been it. I think that might have been more in relation to another point that was raised around the 10% penalty, but I'll take your query and ask our finance manager.
It was specifically in that policy. I think I actually had it open, to be honest. So I can kind of point you, if I can quickly find it, I can point you. No, it's gone. I've accidentally closed it when I jumped off that other thing, I think. Yeah, but it was specifically, I went back and found the policy as well and had a look there to see just what exactly I was referring to. And it was definitely under the postponement of rates. And it was just one of the criteria that you needed to meet was that you owned the property for 5 years. And I just thought, oh, that's odd. And I wondered, there must be some rationale behind it. I'm sure it's not something that was just made up. It was just a curious thing. So, yeah, thank you. Cool. Is there anything else, Jill?
Thank you to you both. So I guess now everything is passed, and I just feel a bit sad for all the people who've put submissions in, because you read, staff recommend that no amendments to the draft LTP are happening. So on our page 25, there was a few concerns about, it says, the submission said repair rather than replace, for an example, of the seats at the War Memorial Park. So in your LTP, it says that they're going to replace them this coming year, so it starts in July. So does this clarify that they still will be replaced even though they have been repaired?
Probably not.
So through the chair, can I just maybe provide a couple of points of clarification, and then we'll address the issue around the seating. So just to be clear, the council have deliberated on, they've heard submissions, they've deliberated on written and verbal submissions. They have made recommendations relating to the release of information to audit. As Melissa mentioned, the audit process is currently underway. And then we will report through to council recommending the LTP for final adoption. And currently that's proposed to happen in July. So that's with regard to the process. With regard to decisions that were made through deliberations, there have been changes to the draft 2534 long-term plan in response to submissions that have been made. And so there were a number of staff recommendations that were captured in the deliberations report, and I think so some of those were agreed to. There have been further changes, and some of those are captured in that media release that I have referred you to. With regard to the Te Awamutu War Memorial Park seating issue, Melissa, my apologies, I can't recall with accuracy was decided in respect of the War Memorial Park, but just checking in with you whether you can, or whether that's something that we can come back to the community board on. And it's certainly not specific to seats, so we would need to follow up, I think, right?
I'm not familiar with that level of detail, so yeah, we'll come back to the board on that one.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Apologies, Jill, that we can't provide you with an immediate response to that this evening.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Melissa, just to help you out, I did have it open still. So it was part 2, 2.1 1.2 of the postponement policy. Just to save you trying to hunt it down.
Thank you.
It's all right. Okay, so is there anything else for these lovely ladies? I think they deserve to be able to have a night off and go and put their feet up and either have a hot bath or a nice glass of wine. So thank you. Really appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us. Sorry we had a couple of little curly things, but we do really appreciate it. And I know I did say thank you at the hearing, but thank you again for giving up your time in these months leading through and answering all those questions that we bombed you with, and really appreciate your patience and tolerance of us, and efforts to answer all our questions in a way that we understand. So kia ora, really appreciate that. Thank you.
Through the chair,
goodbye.
and just on behalf of Melissa and I and the wider council team, thank you to you and the board for your I guess engagement through our updates at these meetings. Thank you, Ange, for your participation in the workshops. We've really valued input through that process, working more closely with the community board in that capacity. And thank you for the time that you took to prepare a really comprehensive submission. So thank you. Good night. Take care. Kia ora.
Okay, night. Thanks. Thanks very much, Kirsty. Appreciate that. Thanks, Melissa. Righto, on to our next item, which is item 6. We have the revocation of 48 Goodfellow Street Reserve. This is, wait a minute. This is the one that we have a slight change that we referred to earlier with our late item. So we are needing to look at the information that was emailed out to us in regard to the Goodfellow Reserve. So I think we have Andrew floating along. He's got something in front of him. So he's kind of, what have you got on your left, Andrew? You've got a big black line. Oh, he's gone. I've scared him away.
You do.
Thanks.
Can you hear me?
We will take the report as read, right?
Yep.
So when Andrew
Yes, we
comes
can
back.
hear you, Andrew. We can't see you.
Yeah, we can't see you, but we can hear you. Actually, we could hear him earlier, couldn't we?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get
That's all right.
my camera to work.
It was working. It just had a black line in it.
Yeah, and now it's completely shut down. I do apologise.
That's all right.
Good evening.
Hi, Andrew. Look, we'll take your report as read.
Thank you.
And if there's any points that you would like to start off with highlighting for us, that would be much appreciated.
Okay.
And then we've possibly got some questions for you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair. I acknowledge I received your email at 16 minutes past 11 last night.
Oh, yes, I was
Chair.
up late.
and I am working on a response. We are working on a response. Just get
Thank
that out of the
you.
way because that relates to
Thank
this report. Just pointing out here that council is the administrating body of this land, which is, if you think of land providing a bundle of rights, we have a fairly limited bundle of rights associated with property as council being the owner. So we are really the administrating body of it, is a way to describe it. The land has an underlying residential zone. It's a great site for further development. It's had a history of being a horse grazing site, from what I understand, and we've been mowing it in recent years. Council, once the site is on sold and if it is on sold and developed, council will benefit from development contributions as well as ongoing rates, not to mention the fact that we will be applying for 100% of the net proceeds from the sale of this property. There's no guarantee that we'll get 100%, but that's what we're going to be aiming for. I don't have anything else. Happy to take any questions, and if I can't answer them fully tonight, I'll get back to you on them.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate that. I'm going to open up to the board. Jill, you can go first, please.
Good evening, Andrew. I haven't actually gone and looked at this bit of land, but what I'm wondering is, it's great the council are mowing it because maybe there's not horses there at the moment. Is there play equipment there and are there trees on the land?
through the chair. No, there is no play equipment on the land. There is a small walking track to the western side, which provides access down to the adjacent park. So there is a park there with, but this land is really just vacant with a timber fence around most of it. There's no trees particularly on it. It's just an open landscape facing towards the north. It overlooks the dairy factory, really.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else got any questions? Sally?
I have. Good evening, Andrew. Thanks for your report. I've listened again on pushed repeat to the Finance and Corporate Committee meeting on November the 26th. And Mike Pett had asked how close it was to the incinerator. I understand that it's actually quite close. That would be my interpretation, being less than 1 kilometre in the vicinity. I think that's reasonably close to a proposal. However, my question would be, can you clarify what surplus to requirements looks like, and how can you sort of talk that we are only entitled to 50%, but you'd aim for 100, and there's no guarantee on that return for.
So your two questions. Surplus land is defined as being land that's not being utilised to its potential. The land doesn't have any play equipment on it. It's really just being mown. It's an open landscape. It would make a very good housing site. And sorry, what was the second question?
You spoke of only being entitled to 50%, but hopefully you'd go for 100. So you can't guarantee 100 though.
No, we can't. So this is a Crown-derived reserve, which means that, as I said before, council are the administrating body of the land. It is a Crown-derived reserve, which means that we got the right to use it from the Crown, and because it's Crown-derived, as soon as we revoke the reserve status, the land reverts back to the Crown, and then there is a policy in place they have where under that policy, we apply to them for the net proceeds from the sale when they do sell it. But they have a policy where they pay 50%, but you are able to apply for up to 100% of the net proceeds once the sale goes through. And we just typically, we have been referencing what we would do with the money, that is to say, improve other parks or to do whatever along the lines of, that council would use the money for other reserves or improving existing reserves.
And what's the likelihood of getting 100%?
I don't know. I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
So now you talked about having discussion with DOC. Have you had those discussions, and what was the outcome of them?
So we advised DOC initially that we were looking to revoke the reserve status. They've looked at it and they've identified mana whenua and iwi groups that we should contact, and that's underway. We've also written to all the neighbours in the area and given them the public notification, and that'll all be compiled and taken back to DOC for them to consider.
Various people. Thanks, Don. Andrew, sorry.
I've got a couple has anyone else got any other questions? I've just got a couple. Any fish hooks in this one, Andrew?
We did consider whether or not council would do some sort of development on the land ourselves, in terms of some sort of housing project, or obviously one of the major problems is the driveway is quite narrow. It's only 3.6 metres, and that is problematic. when we looked at sort of some sort of development on it, it did mean that we would probably have to buy one of the surrounding private properties in order to get adequate access to the land. And given our position, there's no appetite for us to do any of that sort of work at the moment. And so we consider that the best opportunity for us is to go down this particular path. And so so like I said at my introduction, was when we talk about the ownership of this land, council is the administrating body under the Reserves Act, but that doesn't mean that we actually own it.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, right. So if you think, like I said before, sorry to go on, but if you think of land ownership as being a bundle of rights, so you have a freehold title, you still can't do whatever you want with that land with a freehold title, but this is just a lesser form of ownership, if that makes it clearer.
Yeah. Then my other question is, will it be the same as Arthur Patterson, where there won't be any services? Will it be just sale of the bare land, the same as the other one?
Yes, it will. We have no intention. Yep.
Okay. I think that was my couple of questions. Thank you. Can't think of anything else at this minute. Thank you. So is there anything else? No? Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Really appreciate you being here with us tonight to answer our questions. It gives us a bit more information and enlightens us further. So what we will do next is we will decide on whether we want to complete a submission. So that's the first question. Do we want to do a submission in regard to Goodfellow, the same as what we're doing for Arthur Patterson? Bruce, well, no, you can't, you're not going to take part in this one, eh? Okay, Jill?
Yeah, I don't want to do a submission on this one.
Okay, John? Where are you sitting?
Yeah, I had a look at the reserve yesterday. It's a lot of piece of land that could be utilised into housing and things, so I don't think we need bother. I think if they want to go ahead in what they're doing, I'm quite comfortable with that.
Sally?
My feedback from the community is they would prefer green spaces. They don't want a whole lot of rack and stackums. I have had feedback of a enclosed dog park facility. But I don't know how that sits with doing a submission that we can all feel comfortable with.
Okay. Kane, where are you sitting?
I think, I'm not sure what I guess the question is, have we gone out and discussed with any affected parties enough is probably what I'm thinking. And I don't know whether we can say we may or may not do a submission pending further discussions. I just don't know if we've got enough information.
Well, the problem is we need to decide tonight whether we're going to do it, because it closes before we have our next meeting, which isn't till August. So we either need to make a decision.
But we may not do a submission, but pending further investigation.
Okay, so we have two not wanting to, one definite, one not sure. And so that sits with me. I'm personally quite keen to do a submission. I'm happy to incorporate, getting a bit of further information, and then that can determine what our final submission looks like.
Doesn't have to submit.
Yeah. So based on that, and everybody got a copy of the options, didn't they? So based on that, we'll, how about?
Put it on the screen.
Oh,
Do you want to read it out?
Oh, hold on, but do we want to go with the first option that Joe gave us where we just agree to make a submission to the plan? Or do we want to determine some points now that we want to speak to? So I just want to know which one we want to go with initially. Of the first two options, do we want to do A or B? We've decided that we're going to do a submission, so that cancels out the C option, but would we prefer to have further discussion about it now, or we delegate who's going to write the report, the submission, and do it the same way as what we did the other one? First one for you, Sally?
I like what you're saying with regards to you agree.
You need your mic on.
That we need more information, or we need to gather the information.
Yep, so A for you,
Yep.
then? Because that gives us the ability to do that.
Yep.
Yep, okay, righto. So Joe, could you put up A, please? Righto, so that's the option that we're going to go with. So it will, before I get into that, who, is there anyone that would be prepared to do the submission? Well, otherwise I don't mind doing it. Seeing as you did the other one, I'll do it. Righto, okay. So that the Te Awamutu-Kihikihi Board, A, receives the report of Andrew Don titled Revocation of Reserve 48 Goodfellow Street, Te Awamutu. B, agrees to make a submission on the plan to revoke the reserve status of this land and subsequent, wait a minute. What are we doing? Agrees to make a submission on the plan to revoke the reserve status of this land and subsequently, no, we don't, we just want to make a submission. We're not, yeah. Hang on, we don't want to say that because that's what, we just want to make a submission in regard to the revoking of.
Yeah, so you're making a submission on the plan that
Yeah.
council's got to revoke the reserve status of the land and
Yeah,
subsequently.
yeah. It was just the way I was reading it.
That's what your submission is on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, no, we're agreeing to it. Sorry. Okay. And then C, delegates authority to Ange Holt to prepare and finalise the community board's submission to the proposal to revoke the reserve status of the reserve at 48 Goodfellow Street in consultation with community board members. So are we okay with that? I'm happy to move it. Would someone like to second it?
I'll second that.
Kane, all in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Cool. Done. Yep, I will do that. Thank you very much, Andrew. If you're still floating around, appreciate
Yeah, I am.
that.
Thank you. Goodbye. Good night.
Put your feet up. Thank you. Pumari.
Yeah.
I didn't realise you were still because I kind of had that. All right, on to our next item, which is item 7, return of unclaimed funds, 71, pages 71 to 72. And we've heard from Bill with his comments. So we will, is there any further discussion that anyone or comments you would like to make in regard to that? Gone and lost. Oh,
I suppose through the chair, Andrew, I just want to say from a staff perspective, we were requested to prepare the report to return the money, and there certainly was no intention in preparing the report to cause any offence to anyone. So apologise for any that was given. It was very was unintentional. So the board can now either decide to leave the money there or return it if it wishes to.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate that. So I can confirm that Bill had sent me an email to clarify that the funds were, that the Rangiowawhia Historic Trust does no longer exist, and probably something we most importantly need to be mindful of is that even though the Rangiawhia Historic Trust became, or the funds from that trust were put into the Apakura Runanga Trust, we cannot approve the money as given to them because they weren't the organisation that applied for it in the first place. So we still have the money sitting there, as you can see on our balance sheet that we've had every month from the finance team. So we just really need to make a decision to wind it up. It's been sitting there for 9 years. During that time, nobody came back to us while the while the Rangiawhia Historic Trust was still, what's the word I want, in existence. So yeah, I think really we need to tidy this up and move forward. And by all means, if the Ngāti Apakura Runanga Trust has another project and they would like to come back to us and apply again, they are most welcome. And I would just like to acknowledge Mātua Bill for coming along and taking his time to explain from his perspective a little bit of the background to what happened there. So I feel quite confident that it's okay for us to do this. Has anyone got anything that they'd like to comment about it? Okay, let's get this tidied up then. So that the Te Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board, A, receives the report of Joe Greed, Manager Governance, titled Return of Unclaimed Funds, and B, agrees to rescind the resolution on the 6th of the 16th 10th passed on the 9th of February 2016 allocating $7,300 to the Rangiawhia Historic Trust and return the sum to its uncommitted discretionary funds. Can I have someone to move that, please? Jill, second. John, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. And yeah, big thank you to Bill for helping us get that sorted out. Right, so that does move us on to the Treasury report on pages 73 to 75. And so we will take this report as read. So I'm just going to move in and move that, that we've received it. So that the Te Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board receives a report of Native Milne Financial Accountant titled Treasury Report for the period ended 31st of May 2025. So can I have someone to move that? Bruce, second. Jill, all in favour? Against? Carried. I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
So we have, I think we have discussed this before, the balance of commitments not spent. So for example, the first town clean-up day, $346.87. How do I read this? Does that stay there? Doesn't move, or how do we get that back? Because it doesn't need to be used anymore.
This one.
Just through you, Chair, we are going to look at tidying up this Treasury report. We really needed to get that last report done, and then we are going to, before the end of the financial year, get it all tidied up. So there will be some return of funds after the money that had been spent in the town cleanup day. There's some left in there, so it just hasn't been transferred back over to uncommitted yet, but it will be before your next meeting.
Okay, so that second town cleanup day of $500, I think I'll put an expense claim in for 80 odd. That'll be sorted amongst all that. Yeah, cool.
Nice. And my quick question is, we've got some other amounts still sitting. Are all of these still sitting? So Hospice Waikato, the Te Awamutu Community Health. Okay, we just need following up on that.
Yeah, so those funding applications were done before this last year's criteria where we added in the 12-month expiry. So if you know anyone personally to follow up on those, otherwise I'll be following up to see if we can get the money claimed or to see if we can get something in writing to say they don't need them anymore. So this year we added in the criteria for if it isn't claimed within 12 months, but previous to that.
It before that 12-month using it. I thought we'd done it a while ago, the 12-month thing. Yeah, we definitely have. for longer than we, you sure? Oh, I'll believe
I'll
you.
look at the previous
I'll believe
application
you. I'm
forms.
sure we had done it before, but I wouldn't trust me. Okay. Do I know anyone? Does anyone know anyone personally? Project Battery?
Oh, so, yeah, so that's not,
No, that's not.
that's a
Okay.
separate.
Okay, cool. But yeah, just so we can, pardon?
The health shell 230, I can sort that out. I'll talk to Linda Miles. Yeah, it was a phone, yeah. But they haven't. Still.
Yeah, okay. No, if we can get that tidied up, that would be really good just for the new community board coming in, that those odd sods are tidied up. Yep, so we're happy that we'll move on. Okay, righto, board members' reports, or things that you've been doing or meetings that you've attended on behalf of the community board.
I'll start. So I'm preparing the submission for next Tuesday, where I'll be speaking in Hamilton against the incinerator. Yep. So looking forward to getting that done. 10 minutes plus 5 minutes for questions. Been following a little bit of the updates from Don't Burn Waipa. It's yeah, we'll see how we go. So any support who wants to come over is more than welcome if you'd like.
Cool, thanks, Kane. Sally?
I've been over to the EPA, which is very interesting, and I have been following it also. And that's about me.
John?
I didn't represent the community board, but I was at the unveiling of the new roses at the Memorial Park. I was also at a meeting prior to that to decide where the roses were going and how many we were going to put in. I went as an RSA rep, but I could have done both things. But I appreciate what you had to do the other day, but I must admit it was nice to do that down there the other week. And I know Jill was there too.
Yeah, it was quite an honour to be there, John. And John had his squeaky flagpole. He was putting the flag up and down. And we'll tell you, she represented Susan and did very well as well. So, no, it was quite an honour and quite a few people that turned up. So that was really nice. On the 20th of June, on Friday, was our Matariki Day, which Matariki goes for a whole month with the stars in the sky. And Tia Ormsby organised, which unfortunately wasn't advertised that well. She hired the virtual pavilion and had food there, real Kai Mary style with beautiful, puha and watercress and all of the buns and everything else. It was lovely. So not a huge amount of people turned up. There was people doing weaving there and making things as well. So it was just a drop-in for the Matariki Day. And also with Dale Marie for that day, which I mentioned last month, we were doing something. So the local Rosebank Art Centre designed 7 flags, and they are on the side of the information centre. If you have a look, I've secured them quite well, and they hopefully will stay there for the whole month. And also with Dale Marie, we've got a competition going at the library for that as well for students. But yeah, and that's me for now. Thank you.
Plan, I suppose that's been it, so.
Oh, I wasn't on. Thank you. Thank you, Jill, for pitching in with Matariki. It was great to have you down there and flying the flag, so to speak. And also I just wanted to again say thank you for all the work you've done on the Ohopo Road sign. Altruza have got, they're doing a second sign for the Kiki one. They did ask me about the other signs, but we haven't, those were all okay.
Sorry, Angie, the other signs are okay.
Oh,
and yeah,
sweet.
and I didn't mention, sorry, that I've got the artwork I showed you last week that the men's shed have done the framing. They're just painting that today. The glass that Sally organised is going in on Friday with it, and John's going to install it all next week.
Oh,
And
woohoo.
tomorrow the roses being trimmed, the camellias are being planted, and then hopefully next week or so we'll have the Altruza sign coming up.
Yay, big nearly
And
time
I'm
for a
taking
picture.
along I reckon I should take along some cleaner and clean the silver.
Yeah, the Cubic guys are meant to be
Just
coming.
go and do it.
But
Yeah, get
yeah,
it
maybe
done.
just,
Yeah.
yeah.
But within, by the middle of next week, it all should look beautiful.
Yeah, cool. Oh, no, thank you so much for all the extra work you've done down there. Really appreciate it, Sally.
Can I just pop in there that Viking Glass has provided the glass for the frame? So
Oh, cool.
Menchie did the framing, and Chris from Viking Glass has provided the glass for it.
Oh, lovely.
safety
So a
glass.
big thank you and a big shout out to those guys. And also, did we mention the other week to say to thank you to Rob at the plastic welding shop who fixed our project battery containers? I think I did mention it, but just in case I hadn't. So a big thank you to those members of the community that have pitched in and helped us. Really appreciate that. And of course, old Roger that helped us pick up all our rubbish on the cleanup day too, while I'm saying thank you to everybody. Pardon? Eco Maintenance. So yeah, Roger from Eco Maintenance. Thanks, Kane. So for me, I obviously went to the hearing and presented to the council in regard for the LTP. And next Tuesday, I will be back to present our position on the water. What's happening with the local waters done well. So I'll have something drafted up to send out to you over the weekend. As John and Jill alluded to, I attended the planting of the new peace roses down in the Sunken Cross, and I was very privileged to be asked by Mayor Susan to be able to do her speech. It was a real privilege and a wonderful speech. So I'm pleased that I had that opportunity to be able to deliver that on her behalf. And I hope that she's making a speedy recovery from her illness at the moment. The other thing that I did was I jumped on the Zoom meeting for the CBEC meeting that they had just the other day, and really delighted to be able to share that they've been doing a lot of work around trying to standardise what the various how community boards operate, sort of like a procedure type of system, and it's going to be coming out at the local government conference with the councils, and they are going to be delivering it to all the councils. So what they've come up with is a 3-tier type system, because what they found when they went around to all of the different community boards is we are all expressing a lot of similar frustrations around how we all work, and within that, community boards do a really huge different range of things. So just as a quick example, Hastings is completely in charge of all of their rural networks, roads, bridges, everything rural. So they have a multi-million-dollar budget that is delegated to them to look after. To the other end of the scale, with a community board like us, who has very little delegated responsibilities, pardon? Oh, big million. Pretty. I don't know off the top of my head what it currently is, but I know it was somewhere around 10 million a few years ago. So a fairly big amount of money. So what they've come up with is this 3-tier system. So advocacy, advice, and did I write it down? Because I can't quite remember. Did I write it fast enough? I'll do a mixture. Hang on. Hopefully I did write it down here so I can read. No, I didn't. I didn't get it down fast enough. They flicked the thing. So yeah, advocacy, advice, and another chunk of mahi, and then advocacy, advice, whatever the other one is, I just can't remember, and then delegated authority. So the idea behind it is that they present that to councils for the council to select which level their community board would have and work within that criteria. But I thought it was really cool to sort of have a little bit more standardisation. We also had, as a guest speaker, Moko Te who was the mayor from the far north. He's a big fan of community boards. They have a number of community boards up in their area. And he had some quite interesting comments that I will share with you in regard to having community board KPIs, which I thought were quite interesting. And he was very supportive of this concept. Interestingly, he said he felt that it would be a very good idea to make this, like potentially legislated, that this is a followed process for councils and the way they operate with community boards, because he felt, and I did agree, that if there wasn't maybe a little bit of supportive legislation, that it could well get this is a really great idea, and then it goes no further. So the team at CBEC were having a look into that as well. And Dr. Mike Reid was also there, and his comments were around supporting the idea of lobbying, some legislation too, support councils to uphold community board relationships. So yeah, that's pretty much me. But it was a good CBEC meeting. Oh, and they're going to Super Local. That's what it's called. It's the one in July.
Yeah.
Kane.
Sorry, just caught up briefly with Brian down by the roundabout there. And I just said, look, is there some way we can actually clean this up a bit? And he did have some ideas. So I'm wondering if I might pull something together for the next meeting to see if we can just try and keep that all moving as well. So that was something else I did in the last month.
Yeah, I'm all about that too, because I drove through there the other day and I'm like, oh. And the same with the ones down by the Cambridge roundabout, that, I don't know what you call it, the bit that comes into the Cambridge roundabout. I know there's going to be a lot of work on the roundabout now, seeing as the water pipe's just gone through the middle of it. So there's going to be some changes there, but it would be really nice. And the start of Awamutu Street, I mean, it looks terrible again. There's moss growing all over it and half dead, big half dead weeds. It looks really sad. And you drive over to Cambridge and it just looks beautiful. And we look like a hick town. So, yeah, we don't need a lot of money. We just need a few plants. So, okay, let's move on. If there's nothing further. Okay, so that means we're up to the date of our next meeting. So we do not have a July meeting. So the next Te Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board meeting will be at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, the 20th of August, 2025. I will now...
And sorry, can I record my apologies for that meeting? I'm sorry I won't be here.
Okay, got that.
Do it now.
I hope you're somewhere good, Bruce. Abandoning us. Okay, so before I close the meeting, I will do a karakia whakamutanga. Kuia mutu a mātou mahi, mō tēnei wā, mana kitia, mai mātou katoa, o mātou hua, o mātou whānau, ai o ki te aorangi. Our work is finished for the time being. Protect us all, our friends, our family, and peace to the universe. So that closes our meeting at